It's Thursday, and that means it's two-start pitcher day. But you don't need Kyle and I to tell you to run Joe Ryan or Logan Webb out there. You already know that. But maybe you're somebody who lost Blake Snell, or you lost Brian Bayo, or maybe you just need that extra little bit to help get you over the hump in your matchup next week. Well, stick around because we've got some low-owned options that can help you do just that. How you doing, everybody? You're watching the Stoned On Sports podcast. My name is Matt. Got Kyle here riding shotgun, and we are looking forward to this episode. Not only are we talking about some low-owned two-start pitchers that can help you out, but there's also a couple higher-owned guys that we may want to shy away from, we'll say. And we've also got some waiver wire targets for you because these injuries just keep happening and happening and happening. Kyle, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. Two start pitchers for week 6. If you haven't already, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. And we are available on most streaming platforms for podcast as well. Two start pitchers. You want to get into it?
Yes, sir. It is time to answer the question, to start or not to start. And Kyle, why don't you kick us off?
Absolutely. I'm going to start with Garrett Crochet. He's been making headlines there in Chicago. Really the only bright spot there with the White Sox. He's got a couple matchup, obviously a couple. We're two-start pitchers, of course. Monday, home versus the lowly Twins, and Sunday the 5th at St. Louis, another team with a weaker lineup dealing with injuries of their own. It is worth mentioning, as we film this on Wednesday, 24th, he does start today at Minnesota, coincidentally, as well. So make sure that you check out that start. Make sure nothing happened. Look in on his results. In 5 games so far, he's 1-3 in 25 2/3 inning pitch, 5.61 ERA, a 1.01 WHIP. You really like that. 34 strikeouts and just 6 walks. That's a 32.7 strikeout rate and a very low 5.8 walk rate. The last start that he just had, he got lit up against Philly, gave up 7 earned runs, allowed 5 hits, just 3 innings. He was really done in by the long ball there against the Phillies. Allowed a pair of 3-run homers and then a solo shot later in the game. He's now allowed 12 runs over his last 2 outings, 7 2/3. So, not good. He was a little bit more dominant in the early part of the season, going through some growing pains, I should say. I will say it's BABIP. He's been helped out by that. It's low 259. MLB average is higher to almost to 300 at 294. So getting some luck on those balls in play. His StatCast data looks pretty good. Expected ERA, expected batting average, and strikeout rate all in the top 10%. Fastball velo, whiff rate, also all in the top 13%. The fastball velo, it's at 96.3. He does throw that pitch, his fastball 54% of the time. He does well with it, generating a batting average against of just 149, a 31.8% whiff rate, and half of his 34 strikeouts have came from that fastball pitch. So I also really like his cutter. He doesn't sling it too much, just about 18% of the time, but it also has a nice whiff rate and a put away percentage of 53.3%. That is very, very good. Barrel and walk rate are also damn good in the top 30%. He is getting hard hit a little bit, or a lot of it, I should say, at 46%. That's good for bottom 20% in the league among pitchers. Ground balls average. He induces grounders just 41.3% of the time. So, it's got some good and some bad things. So he's thrown a quality start in at least 2 of the 5 outings so far. 3 starts of his 5, or has 3 starts of 5 or more innings this season and 5 chances. And so he's been averaging just about 5 innings per outing. He has not pitched this season without allowing at least 1 run. So going in, he's going to give up something. Hopefully it's only 1 because it's tough for the White Sox to score runs right now and for the foreseeable future. I am a little bit concerned with his pitch velocities. His first start on opening day on the 28th of March, his fastball velo was at 97.6 mile an hour. His last start last week on the 19th, last Friday on the 19th, it's dropped to 95.7. Same thing with his cutter. It's down from 93.6 in that first start down to 89.9 in his last start on the 19th. So I hope we're not seeing signs of fatigue. Remember, this guy has not pitched many innings. He's just thrown 85 and a third innings combined since being drafted in 2020 till the start of this season. So, I don't know what we can really expect of him from total innings this year, probably right around 120, but I think he can right the ship. Nice 2 starts against weaker lineups.
Yeah, and you talk about those lineups. Minnesota, like over the past, we'll call it week or so, it has been kind of mid-pack, at least in terms of strikeouts, and so have St. Louis. But St. Louis is really the lineup I want to attack. They're last in average slugging, OPS, second to last in runs with just 3 home runs over the last week. Um, One of the things that really hurts Crochet is the run support or lack thereof. He's gotten just 6 total runs of support in his 5 starts, and in 3 of those games, he's gotten none. And it's damn hard to win games if your offense isn't plating anybody. Um, they're not really stopping anyone too, right? He's doing what he can. You love the strikeout numbers. He's got an abysmal 55% strand rate. That means 45% of the runners that reach base against him come around to score. That is absolutely terrible. The hard hit is high, but when you think about the gas that he throws,
Yeah.
it explains a little bit of that. But he's got just a shit ton of swing and miss. You love the K's. His 11.92 strikeouts per nine is third in all of baseball. Like you really can't complain about that for a dude who was the surprise opening day starter and who most likely your ass picked up off of waivers. So the next two-start pitcher we're going to talk about is Luis Severino of the New York Mets. He is owned in just 54% of Yahoo leagues. He has games against the Cubs at home and at Tampa Bay, and I am drooling over that Tampa Bay matchup. They are bottom 5 in the American League in runs, home runs, walks, on base, slugging, OPS, and they have the most strikeouts in the American League over the past 7 days. Like, I'm drooling over that. The Cubs, not a heck of a lot better. They have the third most strikeouts. They're mid-pack and average and on base, and they're even worse on the road. He's getting nearly 6 runs of support, and I bet Crochet would absolutely love to be able to say that. He's given up 1 or 0 earned runs in 3 of his 4 starts, and the other was a quality start. So I'm not complaining about that at all. On the year, he's got 22 innings pitched, 20 strikeouts, 5 earned, 9 walks, and 1 home run allowed, and he's throwing 65% strikes. He's got an average strikeout rate. He's giving you just under 1 strikeout an inning and a slightly better walk rate, but he's got an outstanding 58.2% ground ball rate, 6th in all of baseball among qualified pitchers. He's not giving you a lot of swing and miss, though. He's got just a 7.8% swinging strike rate, but he's got a nice 16.6% called strike rate, giving him a 24.4% called plus swinging strike rate. And that's really dragged down by that swinging strike. He allows average hard contact, but just a 3.8% barrel rate. He's been fantastic at keeping the ball in the yard. He's allowed just 2 home runs all season long. The contact rate, though, is high, 83.7%, and that can be a little dangerous because the Mets are the worst defensive team in baseball by defensive runs saved. But you love the ballpark. What the hell do they call it there? Citi Field. Citi Field is a nice pitcher's park. Tampa Bay is kind of middle of the road, but the way that offense is struggling right now, I'm not all that concerned. I think he lines up for a couple nice starts next week. I think you have a good shot at getting a couple quality starts out of that. And the Cubs just lost a big bat in their lineup as well.
They did, yes, Cody Bellinger. Um, So yeah, that his last start against Tuesday against the Giants, he ended up taking the loss, but it was second start of the year, allowing no walks and a second straight quality start. Because you mentioned that it's possible he could get two next week, and I like it because he has failed to reach 6 frames in each of his first 3 starts. So he's had a total of 80 batted balls. Just 3 barrels, very low, 3.8% barrel rate. He's at the top 23%. I love it. And you mentioned his ground ball rate, just excellent. First pitch strikes up almost 4% from last year, and his fastball velo's up a tick to 95.4. So I like the matchups as well there. He can definitely help you, especially somebody that's owned in just half of leagues. Next, we have John Gray, starting pitcher with the Texas Rangers. Look at that long hair. He's just 26% owned in Yahoo leagues. He's got to start Tuesday, the 30th, home against the Nationals, and then Sunday, May 5th at the Royals. He's really gotten on a roll here in April after yielding 5 runs in his first start of the season. He's so far through April, a 110 ERA with a 2.47 FIP and a 23.7 K to walk ratio over his last 16 and a third innings. He does have a start tonight, Wednesday, the 24th, as we film this. So remember, just check those results, make sure everything's good there as well. So, you don't say we gave you some bad advice. He's appeared in 5 games. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, he's appeared in 5 games, only started 4. He had a relief appearance the other day. The bullpen there is pretty taxed in Texas, and it kind of lined up with the way days off and things like that went, that he was able to help. He came in just for that relief for 1 2/3 inning, struck out 4. In total, he's got 20 innings pitched. He's 0-1 with a 3.15 ERA, a 140 whip, 7 earned runs, 10 walks, 25 Ks. Strikeout rate's above normal at 28.4%, but the walk rate is high at 11.4. He's a fastball slider pitcher, throwing them a combined 86% of the time, even though in the offseason he said he was going to try and work in some more pitches, but that has not happened as of yet with his changeup as well. You love the K per 9 of 11.25. I think that's a nice silver lining. It really suggests that, he can still dominate batters because he has been one of the most inconsistent pitchers over the years in his career. And I don't know, maybe he was just victimized by the atmosphere and Coors Field for his first 7 years in the league. It certainly couldn't have helped, but he has definitely seems to have found a home here with the Rangers. Mentioning that slider, it's absolutely filthy. He's in the 91st percentile in run value for that, and he throws that pretty hard with an average velocity of 94.2 miles an hour. It is down 1.5 miles per hour from last year so far, so we'll see if that ends up creeping back up. The Royals, the start against that, they're pretty good. They're 10th in runs, but they've cooled off they've lost the last 4 of 7. I'll still take that matchup. And the one against the Nationals is fantastic. They're just 27th in runs overall. They got some talent there, but they just haven't put it all together yet. So he's a mid-level streamer in this one in week 6 for those 2 starts. He's likely to get, strikeouts and batters, obviously, and he's supported by a strong Rangers team to help push for a quality start and hopefully a win. So I like him for a pickup for week 6 and maybe going forward.
It's possible he should get a decent amount of run support there, although it's not been the case so far, just 3.6 runs in his 4 starts. But he's somebody, you mentioned that he spent a good amount of time in Colorado, so he's used to pitching in real hitters' parks. I love this Nationals matchup. They're bottom 3 in the NL in runs, hits, and home runs. They do a good job of getting on base, but there's really no power there to speak of. They just lost Lane Thomas, and there's really nobody to fear in that lineup outside of some lefty pop from Joey Gallo, and Eddie Rosario can be a little sneaky as well. The Royals, they're a mid-pack team. They're not really striking out all that much lately. He has been, I think the biggest thing for me, he's been inefficient. He's thrown just 61% of his pitches for strikes this year. You want to see him up somewhere around 67, 68, something like that, around 2/3 strikes to balls. Look, At 26% owned, you're not getting an ace. At no point in time has he been an ace. But at the same time, you love just the team context, right?
Yeah.
You know that he's going to get more run support than just the 3.5 that he's getting now. It wouldn't surprise me at all if over his next few starts, he gets closer to 5 or 6 runs of support. And when you give a starting pitcher who can strike people out like that much support, the wins follow, the quality starts follow. Because if they've got that nice lead, now they're pitching to get through the game. There's much less stress. They don't have to be as exact with their command. And it all kind of rolls downhill or up. Well, no, shit doesn't roll uphill. Rolls downhill to create a really favorable scenario. So now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into these 2 start pitchers, and we're going to talk about Trevor Rogers of the Marlins. He has starts against Washington and at Oakland, 2 fantastic pitchers parks he's going to be in next week. We just talked about how inept the Nats have been, but let's talk about Oakland, right? They're
Sure.
bottom 3 in runs, hits, and strikeouts. They have hit for some power, but on the whole, there isn't really that much pop there. And look, hats off to Oakland. They've won a few series so far this season, and it exceeded any early season expectations we've had. But part of that is by just comparison because the White Sox have been so bad. He strikes out a little bit less than the average pitcher. He's a little over 8 per 9 and at a 20.2% rate. His walks are also below average. He gives you 3 per 9 at a 7.6% rate. He's keeping the ball in the yard, though, and this is the big thing. He's allowed just 1 home run this season in 26 1/3 innings pitched, and he's got an excellent ground ball rate, top 15 in the league. The whip is high. It's at 1.5, but he does give up some hits and doesn't have the greatest defense behind him. But he's got a good amount of swing and miss, especially considering the results and the strikeouts that he has. He's got a 12.2% swinging rate, a 27% whiff rate, and he has a well above average 31.3% chase rate. As I mentioned before, both parks are pitchers' parks, especially Oakland with all that foul ground there. And he's been consistent. He's gone at least 5 innings in each start. He has 3 starts with 5 or more strikeouts, and he has just 2 total walks in his last 3 games started. That is a perfect recipe for success, not giving out those free passes, keeping the ball in the yard. And again, the ballparks that he's going to be in are certainly going to help with that.
Definitely. 4 start in a row, allowing 3 earned runs or less. You mentioned the walks. In his first 2 starts, he allowed 7. So he's improving on the year with the 2 that he's allowed in the last 3 starts. So I really like it. His BABIP's been unfriendly to him. He's high on that at 353. That's 60 points higher than MLB average. So hopefully he can get some help with that. But against these weaker teams, you mentioned they're all in the bottom, 4 or 5 in runs, Washington and Oakland. So, perfect time to run them out there with starts against weak lineups. We've talked about the Nationals a little bit and their lack of hitting. Let's talk about some of their pitching. Starting pitcher Jake Irvin. He's got to start Monday the 29th at the Marlins. And Saturday, May 4th at home versus Toronto. Does have a start tonight as we're filming this again, the 24th on Wednesday against the Dodgers. Check those results. Hopefully they're favorable. It is worth noting he just started against the Dodgers last Wednesday, the 17th, contributing to a 2-0 shutout. He went 6 innings, faced 22 batters, just 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 Ks, and a .83 whip. So maybe that'll be all right. It'll be great tonight, hopefully. But I like him for these 2 starts. In that game against the Dodgers, he had a 28.2 whiff percentage with his fastball, and he got 9 whiffs on 24 swings. That's 37.5%. That's pretty damn good. Total on the season, he's 4 games started, 1-1, 23 innings pitch, a 3.18 ERA. That whip is perfectly flat at 1 even. I like it. 23% strikeout rate and a lower walk rate of 6.9%. I think he was really the Nationals' most reliable pitcher in the second half last season. And this season's metrics say his curveball is sharper. His location is better. It's leading to fewer walks, weaker hits. His fastball has a more horizontal break on it. And the cutter, which he had added in the offseason, is coming along nicely too. That K rate, while he's at that 23%, he did improve over 4% year over year. I like that too. And that walk rate is much improved as well, from 10.2 last season down to that 6.9, like I mentioned. He's really getting ahead. Those rates are really helped by him getting ahead in the count. He's got a 3% improvement in his first pitch strikes. He's doing very well at keeping the ball in the park. He's only allowed 2 homers this year. He's got a barrel rate very low at 3.3% as well. Good for top 17% in the league, and a full 7% improvement on that from last season. For a bit of more context, he's had 61 batted balls. So that's, not just hits. That's all balls hit in the field of play with a piece of wood made from an ash or maple tree. Okay. He's had a low 8.2 degree launch angle, which has improved 6.5% from last year. And just 2 barrels out of those 61 batted balls. And before you ask, yes, it was the 2 homers that he allowed that I mentioned previously. The whiff rate is 23.4. That's below average. But compared to last year, he has raised it 5.6%. I love all these incremental improvements from him. It's very good. So he's got the Marlins. They're terrible. More on them in just a bit. I love that start. Toronto, they're 22nd in runs. They don't strike out much. They do walk a lot. They're sneaky good. They've kind of been quiet good this year offensively, but I have no problem running him out there for both starts. The way he's been tossing the ball, and if he gets some extra run support, even better.
Yeah, absolutely. We could be witnessing the start of a Jake Irvin breakout.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
He is giving up a bit of hard contact, but he does well at limiting the free passes. I just wish he struck out a little bit more. I do like the incremental improvement, like you talked about. His fastball is fantastic. A 129 batting average against, just a 197 expected batting average against, and a 31% whiff rate. Overall, his whiff rate and chase rate are kind of low, as is his swinging strike rate, but he has a really nice called strike rate of 19.1%. And that tells us that he is fooling hitters at the plate, and they're just standing there watching it go by and then walking back to the dugout wondering what happened. His overall contact rate is a little bit high as well, too, at 80.7%. That's about 4% over average. But as he continues to refine and develop his arsenal and really learn more how to pitch, I think you're going to see that come down. I think, considering he's only 5% owned in Yahoo leagues, he's a pretty damn good option.
So we gave you 5 guys that we really like in week 6 for their 2 starts. Now we want to talk about a couple fellas that maybe you want to think extra about rolling them out there. Some tips to avoid them. First one we got here is, in fact, we talked to him on our Tuesday show, if you caught it, Max Fried with the Atlanta Braves. He's got to start Monday the 29th at Seattle, and then Sunday, May 5th at the Dodgers. 5 games started this year. He's 2-0 and 25 and a third innings pitched, 4.97 ERA, whips high at 138. Strikeout rate is below average at 16.5, and the walk rate's right about average at 8.3. Now, yesterday, Tuesday, the 23rd, he actually threw a complete game shutout in only 92 pitches. We call that, they call those a Maddox game. That's a complete game that you complete in under 100 pitches. It was his 5th career complete game and 4th shutout for the left-hander. His final line there was 9 innings, 3 hits. All of them were singles, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. This was his 2nd great start out of 5 chances. Guess who he pitched against both times?
Who?
The Marlins. The 25th in runs, Miami Marlins. The 29th in OPS, Miami Marlins. 30th in walks, 25th in RBIs, just 27th in total bases. Run him out there against the Marlins. But he's doing a great job at limiting contact. His hard hit rate's very low at 29.3%. Exit velocity 84.8. Barrel rate's nice at 6.9. He's got 5 pitches. He's got good whiff rate on his sweeper and his curve, both over 30%. He's also just given up 3 earned. He has given up 3 earned runs or more in 3 of 5 starts, and he only went more than 5 innings twice. His K to 9 ratios, because I mentioned his strikeout rate a moment ago, is 6.39. That's not going to work. He's just under 9 for his career. So I think that we'll see some improvements on that. He is struggling to get ahead early in the count with a 55 first pitch strike rate. His whiff rate is a career low 22.5. Just what this game on Tuesday, the 23rd, was kind of shocking, really, because his reliability in fantasy lineups has become increasingly questionable this season. So I just can't recommend him ever versus the Dodgers. And Seattle's bats, while proving they did start poorly, but I like both starts. I don't like both starts, especially against the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's definitely not on the very short list of people I'm running out there against the Dodgers. But isn't it funny how just one start can kind of change people's perspective of him? If his start earlier this week was the only time that you saw him this year, you'd think he's been masterful all season long. Um, the Dodgers don't really need any explanation. They've got their own little murderers row there, and they're just kind of doing their thing. But Seattle, you touched on it. They started very quietly.
Yeah.
And very quietly, they have gotten better. They're getting more hits. They're getting on base more, and they have cut down on the strikeouts. For quite a while, they were leading Major League Baseball in number of strikeouts, and they're getting some improvement there. While I was looking at him, one of the biggest things that stood out to me is how he's doing against left-handed batters. Same side, right?
Mhm.
They have a 458 average against him, a 519 on base, a 625 slug, good for a 1,144 OPS, which is just, I mean, it's like every time he walks out there, it's prime Barry Bonds, just bombing the shit out of him. I expect that to get better as the season goes on, but it was just something that really stuck out to me because you very rarely see that kind of split. So there's one more pitcher, really highly owned, that we just cannot advocate for starting, and that's Jordan Montgomery of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He has starts against the Dodgers and against San Diego. Now, these are both at home, right?
Yep.
Both teams offensively are slumping a little bit right now, while the Arizona bats have absolutely come alive. They've scored 63 runs over the last 15 days. Guess what? I don't care. I'm not running. If I'm not going to send Max Fried out there against the Dodgers, I'm not sending Jordan Montgomery out there. In San Diego, they have some pop in their lineup. Both of them are in the bottom 3 fewest strikeouts. They're top 5 in walks, top 5 in on base percentage. Now he's made just one start because he went through his whole offseason. Where's he going to sign? Yada, yada, yada. But in that start, there was a real lack of chase or swing and miss stuff. He had just 6 swinging strikes, although he did throw 69% of his pitches 4 strikes. Arizona is a neutral park in terms of, favoring hitters or pitchers. And something that was kind of interesting to me, despite him leading with his sinker, historically, he's got just an average ground ball rate. He gave up a lot of contact in his first start, 86.4%. And I tell you what, if you give up that kind of contact to the Dodgers or the Padres, it's going to be a very long day and a very short day for you. He's about average when it comes to hard contact. I know it's very, very early and it's been one start, but his velo is down like 2 miles an hour. Typically, you don't see that One thing I will say, though, is he has the benefit of Gabriel Moreno behind the plate, and he is a fantastic pitch framer. And so that's going to buy him a little bit of latitude as he goes through these lineups. But no, I'm not running him out there. He has a place on my bench if I am rostering him. Why don't you just sit this one out, champ?
Yeah, I agree. He pitched this afternoon against the Cardinals. He went 7 innings, faced 28 batters, gave up 6 hits, 2 earned run, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. Threw 87 total pitches, 62 for strikes. He did end up getting the loss because Arizona could only score 1 run and they lost 5-1. But he did get you the quality start. That's his second time he's went 6 innings and a quality start. So not bad. It was just that was just his second outing. So both times quality starts. You got to like it. But it's the Dodgers. We just can't do it. Top 4 in runs, top 3 in home runs, 4th in RBIs. They're 3rd in total bases, number 1 in walks, and 3rd overall in OPS. If you do run him out there, I got a few words for you.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yeah. It's just not going to work this week. I would recommend keeping him on your bench. If you're desperate, may God have mercy on your soul, I guess.
Well, it should come as no surprise to any of you out there that players just continue to drop like flies with injury, and we need to find somebody to replace them. The first person I'm looking at, and this is somebody that I actually picked up in my home league, is Mark Canha of the Detroit Tigers. He's got eligibility in the outfield and at first base. His stat line so far this year is pretty good. 260 average, a 400 on base, 532 slug. That gives him a 932 OPS, 5 home runs. He's driven in 12. He's walked 13 times and struck out 17. So that's a nice little ratio there. He's just 19% owned in Yahoo leagues, but that's up 10% in the last day. He's got an outstanding 13.7% walk rate and just a 17.9% K rate, and a minuscule 17.1% chase rate and an excellent 16.7% whiff rate. Like, this dude is locked in right now. He's pulling the ball like no other. 56.7% pull rate. All 5 of his home runs have been to left field. He has games at home against St. Louis and at New York next week. I have no problem running him out there against either of those teams. He started 20 of 24 games so far this season, and he's appeared in 23. He hits routinely in the top third of the order, and he's hit cleanup a couple times as well. He's a good replacement if you lost Cody Bellinger or Lane Thomas. And over his last 10 games, he's 11 for 35 with 2 home runs, 4 doubles, 6 RBIs, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 5 runs scored. For taking a look on the scrap heap for somebody to plug in, you could certainly do a hell of a lot worse than that.
Absolutely. You look at the fantasy point standings. He is the number 7 first baseman in fantasy points right now, more than Freddie Freeman, more than Matt Olson, more than Bryce Harper. I don't know what else you could look. That's great. He's going to be in the lineup. He hits for better average and better OPS versus lefties, but all the great part of his run production and walks come from same side pitching this far. Defensively, he's not so good, but he's still going to be in the lineup at DH or even first. He's had more starts actually in the field than DH, but he's hot, just hot at the plate. So, and you know what he does? You know what he's good at? You know what he does? Billy Bean's pointing at you, Pete, because he gets on base. Okay.
40% clip.
Ride the hot streak. He's someone I would hang on to depending on how his production goes here and how the Tigers are doing as the season progresses. Like you mentioned, he's a great replacement for Bellinger and Lane Thomas with them injuries. Love it. Another nice replacement in the outfield is Daulton Varsho with the Toronto Blue Jays. He is currently 71% owned on Yahoo. You say that's a little high, but he's gained 23% in the last day. So just pretend he's at 47% for argument's sake. So he bats left, plays all games. He's going to be out there. He's a freaking elite defender. I don't know if you saw him over the weekend. Made a couple great catches in the outfield against the wall. He's led all outfielders in defensive runs saved last year at plus 29. So he's going to be out there. 24 games played this year. He's got 18 hits and 80 plate appearances, 5 doubles, 6 home runs. He's tied for third in the majors with like 15 or 16 other dudes for homers, but you like it. 13 in RBIs. He scored 15 runs, only walked 8 times, struck out 21. Slashing 250, 325, 569. That slugging's ridiculous. With an 894 OPS. ISO, we don't talk about it so much, but it's outrageous at 319. And that's what you get when 11 of your 18 hits are for extra bases. That's some raw power. I like it. Walk rate's above average at 10 flat. That K rate, 26 threes below average. He is in the bottom 30% in the league. There's going to be some swing and miss when you're crushing balls like he has so far. His expected slugging, exit velo, barrel, and hard hit rates are all above average, and he's in the top 18% in chase rate. He's staying patient so he can smack another extra base hit down your throat. He's just really well. He did start the season kind of slow through the first week of the season. He was batting just 158 with a fucking unplayable 422 OPS. Watching some early season clips of him and looking at some more of the data there for the first 10 games, he really had an uppercut finish to his swing path, and it was really causing him to swing underneath on many of these pitches that he was offered, and he was struggling to generate hard contact because of it. Just 5 of the 22 balls he put in play over those first 10 games, he had an exit velocity of just 95 miles an hour, a super low hard hit rate of 22.7, and 30% of the fly balls he put in play were pop-ups. He's corrected that. He's hot in his last 7 games. He's hit safely in 6 of those 7 with 4 doubles, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 7 runs, and throw it in. 3 stolen bases. Bonus, right? I think he's just kind of settling in there. Last season was his first with Toronto. He's getting acclimated. New team, new home. He's kind of looking like his 2022 self when he was with the Diamondbacks. He hit 27 that year. He had 70 plus each in runs and RBIs and 16 stolen bases. Get him if you can. He's been one of the top performers in major leagues due to this blistering performance at the plate.
Yeah, he's been absolutely on fire. All 6 of his home runs and all 13 RBI have come in the last 11 games. And in that 11 game span, he has more RBIs than strikeouts. He's only struck out 11 times. He consistently hits right in the middle of that order. He is a fantastic bat. And I am surprised that coming into this week, he had ownership below 50%. It's just ridiculous. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves for letting him sit out there that long with that production. And our last waiver target this week, we're always going to throw a pitcher in there. We have Kansas City closer James McArthur, and he really took over that role after starting the season in more of a setup role. He's not allowed a run since April 3rd after allowing runs in his first 3 appearances. He's got multiple strikeouts in 4 of his last 6 appearances and only 2 walks on the season. He's converted 5 straight save chances and now understand Kansas City, not a great team. So you might go a week between save opportunities, like what happened between his 4th and 5th saves. But still, for somebody who's 58% owned, it's up 5% over the past day. So you're talking just a hair over half of leagues he's rostered in is pretty damn good. He's averaging better than a strikeout an inning. And the Royals showed last time out that they're not afraid to use him for multiple innings. He's got an excellent whiff rate and ground ball rate, but something to keep an eye on. He's allowed base runners in 5 of his last 6 appearances, and that can be a death knell for relief pitchers because it takes just 1 run scored to absolutely blow up your ratios or to blow a save, and that's negative points, right? We're looking for positive points or a positive impact in roto or head-to-head categories, whatever your league may be. You got to keep the runners off the bases, but considering, he's sitting out there in just a hair under half of leagues, if you're looking for saves, if you're looking for somebody to throw in the RP slot, he's a damn good option.
He is. He's talented, impressive. He's really an up and coming reliever. I came across him last year when he dominated opponents during the season, the final month of the season. In September, October last year, in 12 games, 16 and a third inning pitched, he faced 53 batters, allowed just 5 hits, 0 walks, 19 Ks with a .31 whip, and oh yeah, 4 saves. Just amazing. A batting average against under 1, and an OBP even lower than that at 0.94, or geez, 0.094. Bam. So much for that Will Smith signing, eh?
Yeah, pretty much.
He was disastrous to begin the year, and McArthur was able to kind of reclaim that closer role for now. I'd like too that he's shown that he can go multiple innings too. A lot of closers just want to go in there for an inning. He's already done it a few times this year, going more than 1, and 7 times last year in 18 total appearances. So all right, that wraps up our 2-start pitchers and waiver targets for week 6. If you haven't, please give us a like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Again, we are on the all the podcast platforms as well, Apple, Spotify, and the like. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You guys have a great night. Good luck with your fantasy teams. We'll talk to you soon. Stay stoned.
See you, folks.